Yeah, sure. Feel happy to just do a clap for the sound. There we go. Awesome. Hey, Monty, thank you very much for coming on to Headstrong.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Pleasure. How are you doing? So you're still turning your arm over despite being retired for kind of 10 years-ish?
Yeah, still sort of playing a bit of club cricket to keep myself, I think, more involved in the grassroots level, because I think what we're finding is that the game's changing quite a bit very quickly since the introduction of the 100 and, like substitute law in the T20 games as well now, especially in the IPL and all that. So you see that sort of the game is just changing quite quickly. I feel like maybe I need to play a bit of club cricket just to stay in touch with the game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we briefly touched on it before we were kind of filming. Are you watching any of the cricket at the moment? Particularly, we've just finished the second test against the West Indies, and it's a solid 2-0 up for England. I mean, that's looking great for us, but with these other nations that's potentially come in undercooked or don't get to play as much Test cricket, that's not great for the game.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think it's great for the game because, you're going to have a West Indies team which got blown away, one session. And that's always going to happen with, the big three. When you play against Australia, India or England, you can be competing for 3.5 days. And that one session, suddenly, I think they lost 10 wickets for 68 runs or something like that. And that was it. The game, was over by then. But then the problem for West Indies cricket is after this test series, they don't have a massive amount of scheduling over the next sort of, 5 to 6 months. So for them, it's sort of like, well, they stop here after England and then 6 months rest and they restart again. So they're not really constantly developing. They may have them one-off test matches, which, you always do with some of the smaller nations. And West Indies, with all due respect, they're not playing like they used, the team that we knew 40 years ago. Yeah. You always, relate West Indies cricket to that. But, they had that famous victory against Australia. And you kind of think that maybe West Indies will pull something out here, but then you could tell that once England get on top or the wicket starts changing a little bit, or if they find the bowlers find, their movement, the swing, there's Shoaib Bashir, found a bit of drift and a bit of spin, then suddenly they can just blow a side away.
You must have appreciated seeing Shoaib Bashir taking a nice fight for this weekend.
Absolutely.
Good to see a young spinner performing, notably in England.
Yeah, exactly. He's only played, I think, a handful of first-class games, and that shows the level of maturity he has, his mental toughness, how strong he is in terms of adapting his game. But also, I think it helps, like we've seen in the structure in England, is that, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, there never used to be so many academies. Now there's a lot of cricket academies being established. So if you don't get spotted in one county, you can keep trialling, be associated with a cricket academy, and then suddenly he got his chance at Somerset, where actually he was on loan. He couldn't get a game at Somerset, so he had to go to Worcester. And now he's obviously, shown his credentials that he is an attacking spinner. It just shows you don't have to have a huge amounts of first-class experience. It's more about your attitude, just how you play the game. He plays it with an aggressive mindset. He's very attacking, always looking to attack. And in the first innings, he couldn't get it quite right. But in the second, he's brilliant.
How important is it to have a captain like Ben Stokes with that similar mindset, along with someone like Brendan McCullum, who's also that coach? You can kind of marry up this kind of aggressive nature of cricket, right?
Yeah, look, I think England, always finds it difficult itself to go against the grain or, try and be a bit more pace with the world cricket. Do you know what I mean? In terms of marketing, in terms of decision making, in terms of everything. So, we had Owen Morgan who kind of changed that a little bit. But generally, when you speak, in the hierarchy, they always want to keep the county game protected. They always want to keep, they're more lean towards tradition rather than being, slightly more entertaining, maverick. These decisions that they're making right now isn't what you would expect 10 years ago. They're basically ripping up the rule book. How England selectors used to, select a team. Now they're just basically doing it on what potential do you see in this guy? Is he got an attacking mindset? Is he up for the challenge? Is he going to shy away? Jamie Smith is another one. The keeper. Again, attacking isn't the attacking player. So they're picking players now. If you're a county cricketer, it's not about your runs and your wickets. It's about the way you get them. Is it attacking style? Is it, you take the game on? And I think that's the cricketers who are playing right now in the England team.
I guess you look at people like someone like Keaton Jennings, who has been getting runs, but he doesn't fit the dynamic potentially. And that's not to say that it's right or wrong. It just doesn't quite fit the mold.
Yeah, 10 years ago, he probably would have fit the mold. Yeah. You know, weight of runs, got a good technique, can bat long, you know what you're going to get from him. But you're probably right, he doesn't really fit the mold. You know, he needs to be more attacking. He's got to probably get his runs at a higher strike rate if he wants to get in this England team. And then have some, you know, unorthodox shots in his locker as well to take the game on, to make, you know, he wants Baz, I know what Baz McCullum wants people to do, his players, is to show their skills, to show off. Go on, show me how good you are. Play all these other great shots, entertain the crowd as well as win, you know, game. So that's what they're looking at. So I think you've got to be that type of cricketer. And, you know, if you don't fit into it, it doesn't matter how many runs you get, you're just not going to get a chance.
Yeah, we're going to touch on kind of more on cricket and what that landscape looks like and your career in cricket as well. But I want to talk about this year as well, because it's probably since you retired, it's probably the most you've been in the news, right? Is that fair to say?
Well, I've been always in the news all the time, but then I suppose I kind of like, you know, just tipped it a bit more today, this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we can look at that, if you're happy to talk about it, right? Yeah. So you kind of were venturing into the kind of political landscape. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well, initially I kind of had a bit of a sort of, you know, flirt with it. I thought, yeah, let's see what is it like. But then after a few days of thinking about it, I just wasn't interested. You know, I just feel like I really want to, you know, develop my media career, you know, my TV career, you know, develop my broadcasting, presenting side of things. And that I haven't fulfilled that yet.
Sure.
I just felt it wasn't the right time for me, and I quickly just, you know, stepped out of it.
How did you kind of tackle that pressure of such hard-hitting questions when kind of it almost felt like people were trying to catch you out unfairly and not it wasn't necessarily the way for it to go?
Well, I think that sort of mindset is you've got to have a mindset where you don't really care what people think, right? You just got to be honest with your questions, the way you answer it, the way you think, you know, your direction want to be. And I remember, you know, a few of the other journalists asking my cricket mates, you know, and I go, that's what it's about. If you want to enter that world, then, you know, you got to like not worry about it, not get too sensitive. There's a lot who would probably worry what's been written about them and all that. You got to have a bit of thick skin about it, and you just got to think, right, and that's what I soon realized. And I thought, well, there's actually a burning ambition elsewhere where I've done a degree in sports journalism. I've got to really, you know, tap into that area, that field, and see how far I can go. And then that's probably, you know, where I wanted to be. So then I just thought, yeah, I'm not interested. And you know, I think I just moved on.
Yeah, for sure. Would you still consider a career in politics at some point?
I don't know. Maybe later on, once I've had a successful media career.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's rewind to you and Monty as a child and growing up. I mean, your parents moved over from India to Luton in like the 70s. Is that right?
Yeah, they moved on. They actually, funny enough, you say that. You know, I was recently watching a program yesterday where they talked about athletes, when they talk about political campaigns, have more weight than a normal politician. You know, like a Gary Neville or Gary Lineker when they mention something. Yeah. Because they have, like, the public know who they are, but also they have a weight of social media. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, who actually follow them. So when they say something similar about a campaign, it goes further than maybe a politician. And I think there's a change where they I think even parties do tap into athletes because they just feel like that message could go a bit further than maybe a politician would.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your earliest memory of cricket as a child?
Yeah, look, I remember as a 10-year-old, I played at Luton Town and Indians. I had a bat, Centurion bat, and I tried to play forward defence. I remember Gordon Greenidge. He used to come to we used to have a cricket World Cup in Luton, England, West Indies, Pakistan, and India. And Gordon Greenidge was one of the guests there. And he was telling us how to play a front foot defence. And he was explaining the back foot, you know, needs to sort of square up like that. Yeah. I obviously didn't follow that advice because I was at number 11, didn't I? There you go.
I mean, your parents coming from India, though, cricket is, you know, near enough a religion in India, right? Was it always a huge part of your childhood?
Well, my dad used to play cricket. He was a bit of an all-rounder, bat a bit, bowled a bit as well. And I used to go and score. He was batting number 6, first change bowler. He should give it a bit of a whack. And then, you know, he was a fast bowler as well. So, yeah, I used to score, and he used to enjoy his batting as well. So that's how I got into cricket. I was a young 9, 8-year-old scoring. Yeah. And then I gradually, you know, started to play cricket when I was 10, you know, a part of the youth team at Luton Town Indians. And then gradually from there, you know, I played Bedfordshire under 12s, and that was my journey.
What were you like at school? Were you well behaved, or was cricket kind of always you were always keen to get out to the
Yeah, like I remember, PE lessons. I was really good at, many other sports as well. Like basketball, I was particularly good at. I was good on cross country. I was a good cross country runner. Rugby as well. So a bit of an all round athlete. And but cricket was the one where I really, flourished and got better.
If we look at Luton as kind of a place, it's got such a rich and diverse kind of culture. What was that like in terms of experience of race in that community? And have you ever experienced kind of racism?
Yeah, obviously, it's an interesting topic because I think it's a complex topic, diversity and all that kind of stuff. But I suppose organisations, when we look at in Luton, in terms of that, I think from a young age, we had, the Cricket World Cup, which I think all the community integrated. And it was it's a strong sporting town. It's like a town in the southern sort of part of England, but with a northern mentality, would you say?
Sure.
Something like that. We got a good football team. We had a few good boxers come through, quite good at athletics as well. And then cricket, obviously, was always quite a strong cricket hold because of the Asian community there. You have the other Pakistanis, the Indians, the Sri Lankans and all that. So it's very strong in that way. But I suppose with diversity, when you speak about it, like 30%. Of amateur cricketers are actually British Asians. So then when you look at them numbers, you think, right, there should be 30% professional cricketers.
Sure.
But that percent drops down to 5%.
Is it?
So then that's where you kind of think why aren't more Asian cricketers coming through? And, I speak to quite a few of them. They feel like, when they get to the age of 18, parents, parent pressure, obviously education, but also there needs to be a system, a pathway program. I think they've started a state school program as well now. But there need to be encouragement to think that, hang on a minute, there is a pathway created for you. The ECB has created, pathways for British Asians to come through. And we're seeing a lot more come through now with the SACA program and all that. So I don't want, young Asians who are talented cricketers, because let's be honest, the club cricket system in this country benefits hugely from the British Asians. But then if the youngsters don't get that same kind of reward to think, wait a minute, hang on a minute, I'll play from 15 to 18. I'm a potential to play second team cricket. And then after that, I'll get into the academy, rookie contract, I can play first team. But no, I may not get that chance because there's not enough Asians coming through. And I think now you see a lot more coming through. And I speak to a lot of parents. I do fast track a few of them. I get them a trial and all that. And, they do have a look. But I think that's when you look at them data, do you think that's fair? Do you think it's a fair reflection or not?
No, I think it's so disproportionate to ultimately what the quality. I mean, I didn't know that it was 30%, to be quite honest with you. But if anything, actually, I'm hardly surprised at all by that figure. But then when you see also in that professional landscape of what it looks like, I think it's completely disproportionate.
And is that fair?
No, not at all. I think, the fact that you are able to fast track people, and that's great. But, if people, yes, of course, I'm sure people will reach out to you, say that you inspired them, or can you help them? But you can't help everybody, right?
Yeah, if I had a proper, maybe, if I got funding from the government or the ECB and I created my own academy or something like that. Yeah. And then I was able to, fast track a few, because that's how they do it now. There's a few academies around, SACA's another place which gets funding from ECB. So South Asian, Cricket Association. And you get a lot of, so if you're as an organisation, as a cricket club, you think, hang on a minute, we don't want people to think that we haven't got enough Asians coming through, or we want, an Asian cricketer who's good as well, on merit. We don't want to just, have them. But yeah, I think at the moment, there's that in between line where it's like, actually, you know what, we need to, as an organisation, need to look diverse. So we need a few Asian cricketers, a few black cricketers, and then, the talent. And once you start giving them opportunity and they start playing, they'll get better. And if they don't, then, you can always, 2 years, you gave them a chance and it didn't work out, you can move on. But at least we've got systems in place, like the ASIC Foundation as well, with the Surrey. So I think it's important that when you look at the cricket community, the numbers that reflect in the amateur world also has to have a fair reflection of the professional, and I think the ECB are doing something about it, which is a great thing. And it's good to see we got, more British Asian, cricketers coming through the system. And it's just about games, Yeah. If there's a half a talented, decent cricketer, give them a contract.
Get them a fixture.
Yeah, and give them a few games, have a 2-year program with them. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, at least you gave it a go.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's look at you and your career, and indeed starting out When did you know kind of, and at what age, and when did you know, when were you told that professional cricket could be, on the cards?
Yeah, look, I was very lucky. I had David Mercer. He was my coach at development office at Bedfordshire. I remember Paul Taylor. He was at Northants, played one test match, and he goes to me, "You're not going to be a fast bowler. Maybe, try and be a finger spinner."
Yeah.
And I tried
that was when you were 16, right?
15.
15,
Yeah. And then I remember I got 7 for 35 against Worcestershire. So I was lucky that Paul Taylor is like my cricket messiah, really. If you never told me about bowling left arm spin, I probably wouldn't have been a left arm spin. I'd probably been playing second team club cricket, being a seamer. But, in life, I'm sure there's a lot of people I come across. It's the right time, right place. Meeting the people at the right time, at the right place, they'll give you the advice. And it was that matrix, isn't it? Do I take the blue pill or the red pill? Do I go right and listen to Paul Taylor, or do I continue my dream to become, like Wazim Akram? But that never would have happened. So I quickly listened to Paul Taylor, and that's why whenever I see him, I say, thank you so much for that advice. I wouldn't have been a professional cricketer if you never gave me that advice.
Yeah, for sure. Can you recall the moment that you were first invited to an England camp or an England setup?
Yeah, look, I remember, I think it was at Lillyshaw, England under 19 sort of camp. And I remember at the time they talked about the battle between Mike Atherton and Donald, mental toughness. So he bowled a bouncer. I think Atherton gloved it. He didn't walk. And he goes, "I'm not walking." And then Donald got really more angry, right? And Atherton loved that battle. And from a young age, we saw that and thought, this is what mental toughness looks like, the determination, the resilience that Mike Atherton showed. And it became the blueprint of that bit of dogfight, British steel, like we call it, British dogfight, or that sort of determination, resilience. We have that, and that was my early memories of it.
No, I love that. I mean, an area that I really want to talk about where mental resilience must have been at the peak for you, Cardiff 2009.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one. It's like we had a batting bloody system, and I remember Brad Hannon was keeping, and I said, "Hey, Brad, you see this Aussies? You're going to see it all day, mate." And they started cracking up. The Aussies, they go, "Oh, look at Monty's trying to chirp us a little bit," but it worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I think before that, Andy Flower, the coach, said, "The tail, we need it to wag a little bit. How can it, bat for a longer period of time?" And then what we did, we got the bottom, 8, 9, 10, or 11 to team up with the top 4, top 5 batsmen. So my batting buddy was Paul Collingwood. So he would throw at me, but he would teach me how to bat from a batting perspective. Said the hands need to be short. If it's at the stumps, you protect your stumps. Anything short, anything elsewhere, just let it go.
Get out of the way.
Yeah, stick to that little game plan. That's all I did, really. I thought, oh, well, I'll stick to this game plan, see how long it lasts. Eventually, I'll nick one, and then we'll lose the game. But little did I know that
you and Jimmy kind of
pulled it out, and it made me very proud, actually, when he retired this week. It was on the same day as the anniversary of the Cardiff Test match 15 years ago, where we faced 69 deliveries, partnership of 19, and I played a small part in his greatness, and it was great to be on the England dressing room with him, as well as at the crease.
Yeah, I mean, just before we will talk about Jimmy, but I want to talk about dealing with pressure as a professional sportsman, because as you said there, I mean, when you're 9 down in a game like that, the pressure is huge. Do you feel pressure like that, or do you take the kind of situation as it is?
Yeah, look, you know what pressure is. Pressure is the context of the game, match situation. That pressure is on you, and how you deal with it. There's a lot of sports psychologists say breathing becomes a pronounced activity at that time. You maybe focus on your breathing, focus on your processes at the time. They become much more important to deal with the pressure. So if you as a batsman, if you need to get your triggers in early, you get them in early before you face the ball. If you're a bowler, it's about maybe how you start off. Do you start with the right foot? Do you throw the ball twice in your hand? You have these little sort of processes that we call, in terms of sports psychology, coaching manuals, and the reason you have them is to actually, you can bowl your best delivery or think clearly under pressure, think logically. So this is the right decision I make, and not worry about outside pressure, the game situation, and then that really helps you to then focus on your skill. And then after that, you can maybe have a chat, think about strategy, ask your captain what we're going to have for dinner tonight, take some time out of the game. These are the little tricks you play so the pressure goes onto the batsman. And you slow everything down. to deal with when pressure. When you're on top, you accelerate everything. You bowl. When you're the pressure's on you, you take that walk back to the mark. The circle gets longer and longer and longer because you want the batsman to get frustrated. Because the batsman's in rhythm, you want to break that rhythm.
Yeah, for sure. What about the support in the dressing room from a mental health perspective? When you were in the dressing room, what did that look like back then? And what do you think it is like compared to now?
Well, I think back then we never used to talk about it. We never used to think that anyone was suffering from mental health, right? If anything, everyone used to talk about their strengths and what their super strengths are. If you're got a very good straight drive, how do I make that better? If you've got good stock delivery, how do I make that better? No one used to talk about mental health stuff until Marcus Trescothick, when he first came, talked about it. I remember, Varney mentioning that Trescothick was saying, "Oh, I forgot something. I need to go back to my room, maybe write something down or whatever." And you kind of think they're the little triggers, like bizarre habits, unusual things. When you do, you kind of think, is this person, okay? Is something, unpeculiar? So you always now, I think. And also Michael Yardy coming out when I was with him at Sussex. Like, I played a lot with him and he was my captain. He was like, great partnership with him. He was at slip. He was a spinner himself. So he'll tell me, what the batsman's thinking. We're trying to get, wickets like that. I could never work it out. Like, it was, I remember when I shared with him in India, we used to, be together as teammates, sharing the same room. And he probably did say at the time, "Oh, I'm a bit homesick. I miss home." But I just didn't realize it, at the time. And when you don't have any education, you don't have an awareness. It's like, you can see a broken, when someone has a broken hand, you can see it. 6 weeks will get healed. Everyone comes and signs it, writes a little comment. But when you have a broken mind, you can't really see it. You don't know what to look for apart from person's habits. Are they joining in with the team activities? Are they in their room all the time? And when they're not performing well, are they still talking to the coaches, to his teammates? Just what's on their mind. So I think now we're a bit more aware about it. I think, but back then, I think that was only 10 years ago. Like, I don't think people didn't have an idea what mental health looks like.
Yeah, for sure. When did you first become aware of your own mental health?
Yeah, I probably when you're trying to concentrate, can't concentrate so well. You're trying to when you're sitting by yourself and you're watching TV or something like that. Your mind is just you're not calming down. Something's not quite right. You can't concentrate. You're not sleeping well. You're not really aware of your surroundings and stuff like that. And then eventually, even my family and friends said, "Look, why don't you just go and see a psychologist or stuff like that?" And I kind of had to go and had a chat. Started to take these, antidepressants. So great at the start, you can see they're calming your mind down. But then your personality is like very, you're safe. But then it suppresses your personality, and I put on the weight very quickly, and I got off them. And then I just try to fight it from my own mind. And now you just have activities to do.
What do you do to kind of look after your
so you have on the fridge, you write down things to do, right? So get up in the morning. Every day's not going to be sunny. It's going to be a rainy day. It's going to be other days not going to be great. So everyone, I think, has a way of dealing with their own mental health. So it's like I have a do list. Sometimes exercise is really important for me. Reading, really calms me down. Sometimes I like writing. I like free flow writing as well, because obviously, since I did my degree, I do a bit of writing, so I write as well. Sometimes you just write down what's in your mind. Don't talk, don't tell anyone. Yeah. Just say I don't feel great this morning, or I feel amazing, but I've got so much to do, and whatever. This podcast is absolutely brilliant, or all that. I can write all of this kind of stuff down. And the host is, such a boring guy. Do you know what I mean? But that's just, obviously just having a giggle with you, but. When you write that kind of stuff down, then it actually helps you to clear what's on your mind.
Yeah.
So best way to describe it, it's like like a thought is like a cloud in the sky. When it's all cloudy, one thought after the other, they all kind of disappear, and then eventually you see blue sky, and then there you go. You're in a great place.
Okay, so let's also talk about spending time in Australia. What was your experience like with the Australian peoples in terms of heckling and the fans?
Yeah, they're very much in your face. They'll tell you if you're good or if you're crap, or if they tell you need to work on your fitness, or if you're going to get hit by the Aussies, or if there's a catch coming in and you're going to drop it. They're not shy. They just tell it to your face. And you either take it with a pinch of salt or you ignore it. And I just tried to banter with them. And I think they loved that. The more you banter, the more they want more banter.
Well, they see you as a person, right?
Yeah. And I thought I'll do the banter. They'll calm down. They keep going. They keep going all day. And they don't stop. And then when I start getting wickets, I'll banter with them. I'll say, yeah, come on, you Aussies can't play left arm spin, can they? Yeah, and then they'll start bantering with me. So I ended up having a really good relationship with them. I thought that's the best way to deal with it. Because then it helped me to focus on my cricket. When I'm on the top of my mark, I'm in focus mode. When I go back down to fine leg, I just have a laugh with the crowd, and it helps me to switch on and off. And I think that helped me when I was in Australia.
What about the players as well, though? I mean, they're known for being so much in your face as well. And I love the fact that, you were talking about Brad Hadd in there and just having a bit of chirp with them. How severe were they? I mean, compared to other teams you played?
Yeah, they're very severe. Like, I remember when I played against Gilchrist, my first test match at Perth, I got him out second ball and I said, mate, I don't know what's big about you. You can't even play, a tall left arm spinner. Got you at second ball, mate. I think it's time to pack your bags, And off you went walking. And then second innings, one over hit me for 4 sixes. And then he goes, there's still a lot. He gave me replied back. He goes, there's still a lot of fight left in this soul dog.
We love that. That's good. That's good banter.
Yeah.
I mean, where would we be without it?
Exactly.
Is there one sledge that you can recall that really comes to mind?
Yeah, like, I remember when I faced, Brett Lee, and I remember like Brad Hadd and, was clapping away and he goes, actually, it was Adam Gilchrist. He goes, yeah, I bet his mum and dad's watching. They're so proud of him, isn't he? He just got his new pads out. And then there was obviously Ricky Ponting shouting out, yeah, look, his dad must be really proud. And then I remember Shane Warne was sort of saying, yeah, look, I'm glad he's got his finger guard on because that first ball is going to be right at his throat. And then he'll soon realize what it's like to be in Australia. And I was like, oh my God, that Shane Warne absolutely sledged me. And that first ball was a bouncer. And I saw it and I thought, I looked at it, I thought, this is going to hit my finger guard. Because I used to get my finger guard right near my throat to protect my face. And as it came down, I just moved out of the way and it just went past me. And then Brett Lee just looking at me. He goes, mate, I'm not going to waste another bouncer on you. You can't play it for toffee. And then he didn't even bowl a bouncer after that.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got to talk about the Ashes down under because people are talking about it already.
Yeah.
This summer is pivotal in terms of us finding what works for the England team and what doesn't. What do you think at the moment of kind of how we're poised for that, the Ashes coming?
Yeah, look, I think this team's developing nicely, but I think, you look at Australia, 50% of their bowling attack, the pace that they bowl at is above 85%, 85 miles per hour, sorry. And England are only like at 20% right now. And if you have Mark Wood there and Gus Atkinson, that increases a bit more. But I think they need to find a third seamer as well. Who can bowl a bit quick. Maybe Potts could be another one there. But they can't rely on slightly slower, bowlers. If they do one, then Ollie Robinson, because he's tall, he'll get that extra bounce.
Yeah.
That's a good player to invest in. A tall bowler is a little bit slower, can just be your control bowler. And then you can have a couple of like Gus Atkinson and Mark Wood bowl quick. I think the reason they went for Shoaib Bashir than Jack Leach is because Shoaib is a tall guy, 6'4", and he'll get more bounce off that length than maybe Jack Leach would. And that's unbelievable, like what he's done in this test match. So I think their selection also is going to be eye for the future. And I think they're building that up nicely. They haven't quite worked out their best attack.
No.
But I think they're sort of, this summer we'll probably know what's England's best attack for the winter.
Going on tour is often a huge time away from home, often 6 weeks away, right? What was it like for you kind of away from family and friends for such a period of time? Did you deal with that well?
Well, when things are going well and you're taking wickets, you don't want the tour to end. But when you're not doing so well, I used to just stay in my room quite a bit. I'll come out and, I wish at that time maybe had a best mate, on the trip where I can just sort of, when I'm not having a great day, I can just go to him, talk about whatever's on my mind while I'm not taking wickets.
Yeah.
If the ball's not coming out great, just talk, I know some of my mates, they'll just sit in their hotel rooms and if they're not doing well, they'll be, with their jog strap on all day and looking at the mirror and just doing their shadow practice, not come out of it. But it's a lot like that, when you're on tour, a lot of players go insular, stay in their rooms, we're just trying to maybe watch a movie. But when things are going well, you want to come out because you feel great. But I think now they changed that. They're like, well, no, everyone must meet up together, sit down together, do things together, do fun activities. Maybe like now, people, they're not worried about training. They're more worried about, when's the golf session, when's when to play golf. And I think that's how sports have changed now, and I think that's something that maybe, the England football team, they just get to the final, big games. They don't seem to, they don't have that next level, like Spain did, next extra gear. Is that the ceiling for this England, football team? How do we get them to play like that? Do they need to just go and play golf, relax, so they can play, their best football on the pitch? So I think English cricket, is becoming a template for many other English sports to follow.
Yeah, for sure. Was there anything that you ever took to remind you of home when you were on tour?
Sometimes you have these, books and novels, that are written by, English authors or English, kind of books that are related to, let's say, I do read a bit of politics books, and then some novels as well. So you tend to sort of follow the football scores when you're away. You always want to watch maybe EastEnders or Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
That goes on for about 2-3 hours. So, these are British sitcoms just to make you feel a bit more at home when you're away. So, that kind of stuff we did loads.
Okay, we have briefly mentioned Jimmy Anderson, but I want to talk about him in a little bit more detail. So, as we both know, he's just retired, right, fully. However, the man is as fit as a fiddle. He's still probably in the prime of his fitness. How do you feel about that? Should he have been forced to retire?
Well, I think he got stretched out, to be honest. I think they came and saw him. They said, look, our decision is we're going to move on now. That's a decision we're going with. You're 41. During the next Ashes, could you still play? He probably could play, let's be honest. But they obviously feel like they want to, it's a stretch too far for him at 43. I think he could have done it, but they obviously, want to move on now. I think he got forced out, to be honest. I don't think the decision was in his hands. And then obviously at Lords, they had to give, the best send off because, he's a legend of the game and they got all that absolutely spot on. But a lot of people say he got the decision right. I don't think so. I think he was top of his game. I think he was getting better and better. Like, you could easily just manage his workload. He didn't have to go to Pakistan this winter. Maybe play 1 or 2 test matches in New Zealand. He doesn't play all the test matches. And then Australia, he's there, but now he's got a job as an England mentor. So he'll have a new role that I think they'll see how it goes until the end of the summer. If it works out really well, you may go over the winter. I think you'll do a good job in that as well.
What's a pivotal or an iconic memory of Jimmy from your time with him in the changing room?
Yeah, look, I remember we used to do crosswords together.
Yeah.
So we would do the sun, and then we get to the times, and then he'll say, Monty, look, let me do this one.
That's very funny. So who then, for you, is opening the bowling in Australia?
Well, I think at the moment, Gus Atkinson, for sure.
On Rocket?
I think with Mark Wood, he's more of an impact, bowler where he may not play all the test matches, but if he stays fit, you think, right, we get 20 overs out of him. All I want is you to change the game like he did. Headingley was that moment where Usman Khawaja got done for pace big time, and he can do that, and I think he hasn't. What surprises me is that he hasn't bowled teams out, taken 7 for 20.
Yeah, sure.
And I think he's got that in him. He just needs to work out how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to remember it's only been 2 games for him.
Yeah.
With the best is yet to come. But then let's look at someone like Chris Woakes. Do you think he should be on the plane?
I think you need a bit of a control, a bit of experience, don't you? You need if Gus and Mark Wood are trying to attack, you need a control bowler. You need someone who can just go at 2.5s and hold one end together. So if Chris Woakes can keep himself fit and keep his pace up, then he should aim to play in the Ashes.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about kind of you when you were kind of coming towards the end of your career, where you started it started going a little bit up in the air, right? There was a little bit of a bit more turmoil, not only just professional life, but personal as well. Where were you kind of mentally in terms of managing all this, and does it affect your game?
Well, I think at the time I was at Essex, and I remember Paul Grayson said, look, why don't you just go and see a sports psychologist, talk about things? And you start talking, and then, they sort of are quite good at that. And then you come back, you feel much better, you start playing your cricket again. But I think it's just generally speaking, I think it's more about, at the time, I felt like I didn't really get a fair go. I remember missing one game for timekeeping. When you're not great, you're not sleeping well, and suddenly you start sleeping well in the middle of the night. Next thing you know, you missed the alarm, and you get there at 10:30, and then James Foster, that was it. He didn't give me another chance. He didn't want to give me another chance. And at the time, I was actually not in a great place. And Essex just sort of put me on garden leave, and that was it really. And I felt like, you know, you see a lot of like, you know, other players, they get another chance. I don't know why I didn't, you know, get another go, or why they understood actually maybe, you know, you wasn't, you know, in such a maybe great place. We'll try and support you, and then try and see, you know, if we can get you better, and then hopefully, you know, get see the best of you. It was just sort of maybe the understanding at the time, you know, you got to also be sympathetic.
Yeah.
Within the game, it wasn't there, you know, now there is, you know, that. So, yeah, it's a difficult time. You know, I think 10 years ago, if someone was, you know, did have a mental health issue, you wouldn't want to mention it to the coach, because you'd be thinking about your place. You'd be thinking, well, I may not get picked whole season, so let me just bottle it in. And a lot of the players used to do it that way. But now it's like, no, actually, you could talk about it. We'll be sympathetic. We'll help you towards it. Coaches have a better understanding. And I think even in the level 4 coaching, you know, ECB program, they have that in a section as well there. So I think it's just a better understanding now. And I think people are much more open to talk about it. If they don't feel great, you know, I want a break, and they're happy to, you know, to support you.
Yeah. So what's next for you then? What does the landscape look like?
Yeah, obviously I'm a, you know, MA in sports journalism. So hopefully, you know, develop my sports presenting skills, commentary, media skills as well. Maybe have my, you know, work on one of the cricketing, you know, channels, work as a presenter, and develop, you know, have my own column, maybe have my own radio show, maybe with Talk Sport. And the other bigger ambition, have a chat show, you know, competing against Graham Norton and Jonathan Ross, called Monty Meets.
I love it. Yeah, it's good. There you go. We can set this up now. How important, just before we kind of come to a close, how important has exercise been as your kind of through line for your own mental health?
Yeah, I think exercise works for some, but doesn't work for others. There's people out there who are fitness freaks that still suffer mental issues, right? So you got to work out what's good for you. Sometimes you get the guys who are happy, doing really well in life, don't even go to the gym ever once, and they're kind of like quite a healthy size, but they go, I don't want to go in the gym. I like to be, you know, my sort of heavy size. I'm happy about life. I'm in a great place. So I think it's not a prescriptive, you know, activity for everyone. I think if it works for you as a sportsman, you know, I love running, boxing, yoga, going to the gym, doing just any sort of activity, because I think it helps me. And I think it's a lot of, you know, sports people who do that, you know, ex-athletes, ex-cricketers. Gym is a big part of their sort of help towards, you know, them setting their day, feeling in a good place. And I think, you know, gym and fitness is very much part of my, you know, mental well-being.
Yeah. Monty, what does the word headstrong mean to you?
It's a great word. I think headstrong means that your mind has to be strong, right? Mentally, you're strong to take on things. But also headstrong is from the other way, you know, be strong enough to, when things are not going so great, you know, ask yourself the question, have you got 5 people you can talk to? If you haven't, then that shows that you're going to work on your social skills. If you have, give them a call, you know, go and see them, do something, tell them that, you know, something's not great, whatever. It's so important to talk about it. So I think headstrong is both ways. It's when you're in the right place, in the right direction, keep ploughing the field. But when you're not so great, also be strong enough to open up.
Love that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you.
There you go.